Yes, guys, welcome back to my personal channel. Welcome back to another video. And welcome back to another live stream. In this video, we are going to be talking about Chelsea, Krasnodar, but we won't be talking about it for too long because we know there's barely any topics to discuss on that. But we can use it to discuss the games going forward. We're also going to have a look at the other two games that we've got in the space of next week. We've got two really big games away to Everton and away to Wolves. And we're going to talk about how that could impact the other results at the top of the table because realistically, if we win our next three games, we are guaranteed to go second or first place, depending on whatever happens in the Spurs versus Liverpool game, because it is guaranteed that one of those two teams will be dropping points. But you're better off without just having me to chat shit for an hour straight. I've got Lawrence with me as well. Big up the X100% Chelsea gang. What are you telling me, bro?
Yeah, long time ago. How you doing, bro? First of all, glad to be here. Thanks for having me. And I hope everyone's well. And yeah, it's big games coming up. It's a big month. December is always a big month. And, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. A little bit of nerves kicking in because we have been doing so well recently. So the hope is increasing, I guess. So, the more hope you have, the more it hurts when it doesn't come off, I guess. So that's why there's a little bit of nerves, but I'm still excited because, at the moment things are just well, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, we had our first game against what I'd call a serious pressing side on Saturday against Leeds, and I wanted to see how we'd perform in that sort of game. And if we're talking about passing a test with flying colours, I mean, what a performance in that game. Not only just the way we played, we took Leeds at their own game and we battered them doing it as well. I think we're the only side to have outrun Leeds, and we did it by about 5 or 6 kilometres as well. We were all over them for long periods of the game. And N'Golo Kante in the lone DM role as well, he shone. One of the man of the matches, in my opinion, if not the man of the match. So me personally, I'm a lot calmer and a lot more reserved on Kante in the DM position now because I've seen it work against the press. So I'm now more confident going on into these games. And you're right, the Christmas period is going to be a tough period for us, but I actually low-key think we might be able to manage it with the way some of the games have been. First off, we have had that Krasnodar game, which has given us the opportunity to rest nearly our entire main starting 11. Also, after the Wolves game, we've got a nice little 6-day break before the West Ham match. We got another tough round of fixtures straight after that. But I thought the entire month was just going to be a madness for us, and we look pretty solid going into it now. It's going to be a big question about the next 5 days, but we've got the rest that we needed. If the sixth game mattered a lot more to us going into the Krasnodar game, I'd be a lot more worried personally.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was really, really big that we won away in Sevilla, and therefore then kind of didn't really have anything to play for against Krasnodar and could just rest everybody. That was honestly huge for us. Couldn't be much more pleased about that, quite frankly. And yeah, like you said, the next two games will be big, especially with our winger situation. I'm not sure if you heard of the press conference today. Of course, we know that Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech are out, but Pulisic, he's fit. But Frank said after the Leeds game, he had a bit of a, what did he say? An awareness of his hamstring again. So he's fit. He trained all week, and he said if the Krasnodar game mattered, he would have even used him in that. But there is, again, a little something. And I'm like, mate, just get through these two games. And people were just saying all over Twitter that, do we even start him? And I'm like, yes, of course we do. Because when do we need him, if not when the two others are injured? So, obviously we want him to start every game anyway. But it's even more important for him to start when the other two wingers are out. So,
are they defo out of the Everton and the Wolves match? Both of them?
Yeah. I think earliest we can hope for them to be back is Arsenal. I think they're both out for 2 weeks.
Okay, well, that confidence is really draining now. You said that because we've got one fit winger for the next 2 games and his ankles are made of glass. That is jarring. Yeah. Quick question, because we could just go straight into it now and discuss it. Christian Pulisic then with the next 2 games. How would you want to manage him? Because I've been saying this entire season, I don't even want to see him start more than 1 game a week. Now we're looking at potentially starting him in 2 games in the space of 4 days.
It's really, really difficult. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Havertz playing on the wing. If I was a bigger fan of that, you could say it's not that big of a deal. I think you have to risk it, personally. I think you have to risk it because even if he gets injured, okay, it's annoying, but at least then we should have Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech back. And, if we're trying to win this title, we can't, just let games slip and just accept that we won't be as potent in a game. If we want to win the title, we need to go all out every game. We can't be having these, just be like, it doesn't really matter that much. No, if we want to seriously challenge for it, I think we need to risk it personally. I mean, I understand if people say no, but because Richard said it in the comments, Mount on the wing, I'm not the biggest fan of personally. Same with Havertz. And we already have Werner, who isn't a winger, playing on the wing. So having, even against Krasnodar, I mean, we will talk about that. The biggest issue for me in that game is that we didn't have anything coming from the wide areas. The two fullbacks were the two B-Tech fullbacks, shall we say, and we didn't have actual wingers on the pitch because even Andrin isn't a winger. And then what happened? Krasnodar blocked the middle, and we didn't have anything from the wide areas, and then we had half the chances we had in the last 4 or 5 games against significantly better opposition. So I think we should probably risk him. I just hope it goes well, I guess. But obviously take him off if we can after an hour, depending on the result. But I think you need to start him in both, personally.
Yeah, I think our hand's being forced in this one. This is more me saying, is there any way we can try and not play Pulisic in both games and still be able to cope? But I think we both have to be real. He is going to have to get that sort of game time. And, I mean, it's a good test for him. I guess we can test to see how much he is fully back to fitness, even though we kind of really know the answer if in the last game he's still feeling that hamstring. Personally, if we have to play him, we might as well give him the Thiago Silva treatment, play him for a bit, haul him off around the 60, 70-minute mark, like just wrap him up in cotton wool, because I'm a bit worried about Christian Pulisic. And if he gets another injury in these next 2 games, then we're down to 0 wingers, and then it is going to have to be Mount or Kai Havertz on the wing, which is going to be even worse for us. But nothing against Christian Pulisic's quality. Even on the low times we've seen him playing on the pitch, he still looks amazing. At the most, he's hogging onto the ball a bit too much, but he wants to try and improve his output because he's had barely any time on the pitch. So it's completely understandable. But looking at the Krasnodar game, low-key was a bit annoyed at some of the performances we saw there. It was understandable based on the fact that there was literally nothing to play for. And with how messed up the fixture list is this season, the amount of games that are coming thick and fast, I can't really blame the players for not being too motivated for just a generic home game against Krasnodar, where already threw as as group winners. But same way with the amount of competition in the squad, with the amount of places up for grabs and the amount of players who should be justifiably getting positions in those positions. I feel like there was a lot of players that didn't really play to their full potential. I thought Jorginho just got pressed like a light switch for most of the game. I thought Tammy Abraham didn't have the best of performances. Even Emerson just looked yet again inconsistent. There was a couple positives to speak about, and we'll definitely move on to the positives, but there was a couple fringe players who really could have taken the opportunity a bit better, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially on Tammy Abraham, I agree. I'm not sure about Jorginho. He lost the ball definitely like a couple of times in bad positions, but I also thought he did decent things. And realistically, the thing with someone like Emerson and Jorginho, are they really fighting for a place that's up for grabs? Not really. Because we know no matter how good Jorginho plays in these Champions League games, Kante is going to start in the Prem. We know that Ben Chilwell is going to start in the Prem, no matter how good Emerson plays. So, they did their job good, very good, in Sevilla last week when it mattered. This week they didn't. But Tammy is the only one where I had that criticism because he actually had something to fight for. He is fighting to be the starting striker while Timo Werner is playing out wide. And he bought it completely honest. I mean, yes, he won the pen, fair play. But other than that, he should have done better with the chance he had a couple of minutes after. And especially once Werner came on, the first moment Werner had when he just ran through and then just whipped that ball across. And Tammy was literally one step away from tapping that in and just didn't take that step. And that's frustrating. That's frustrating. So Tammy frustrated me a bit and honestly just gifted Giroud the number 9 spot for the foreseeable future, shall we say. But yeah, you're right. Obviously, there was a bit of lackluster performances, I guess, but I prefer to look at the positives, I guess. I was very happy with Gilmour. I was very happy with Andrin. I was very happy with the first half an hour, especially by Kai Havertz. He looked to get a bit more tired after that, which proves again that, the illness that shall not be named. Or do you name it on this channel?
I don't think I got demonetized last time, so you might as well.
All right, so
I already know what I'm about at this point anyway.
True. So obviously, it seemed like he's still not 100% like at fitness, shall we say? Because to me, after half an hour, 35 minutes, he seemed a bit dead. For the first 5-10 minutes in the second half was better again, and then got tired again. But still, the touches looked better, the confidence looked better. So I was pleased with that. So there was things I was pleased with, and we definitely could have, won the game. It would have been nice to have we just nicked that 2-1 at the end, but it wasn't to be, and we're through anyway. So
Yeah, scoreline wise, I don't really care too much. Like, even any of you man who was watching the watch along, the lack of focus during that game was an absolute madness. But there was some positives to look back on. Kai Havertz, I thought, like you said, was getting back to full match fitness, and yeah, he might have like not been around in terms of off the ball movement and everything. But I thought whenever he was on the ball, it was another game where he didn't do anything wrong, and I thought he was very good going forward. Was trying to create a lot of chances, but as usual, the Tammy disaster class kind of didn't help him out as well. Yeah. But there was also some positives to take, like we have to speak about him. Billy Gilmour, what a performance! Straight back from injury into his first start. I think he had the one substitute appearance in I think the last game, but this is his first start back, and it looked like the exact same Billy Gilmour that we've seen before lockdown. Ranger pass was ridiculous. I thought he had that aggression that we were kind of lacking in the midfield, and even at times it looked like he was doing two jobs at once. Even his ball progression as well, excellent, and that low centre of gravity makes him so hard to stop as well. Mm-hmm. And it is early days still with Billy Gilmour, and I'm not going to try and push anything too far, but how far right now do you see him getting into the first team in this midfield? Because we have to be real, it is a packed midfield as well, so it's understandable that he's going to get limited opportunities, but what kind of opportunities do you see him getting?
See, in a weird way, I think I unlike a lot of people, it seems, from what I've gathered on Twitter or from my own live streams, people see him as more of a 6. I see him as much more of an 8. Because even against Krasnodar, incredible on the ball. Obviously, honestly, incredible. Especially the pace on his passes. That's the one thing I don't like about Jorginho. He plays the right passes, and like they get to where they need to go, but they're always a bit under hit. I feel like they always like they take a bit long, and Billy just whips them, honestly. But they get there. There's barely has any intercepted passes, barely has any misplaced passes. But I just think positionally, and yes, he's quicker than Jorginho, but he's not much quicker. I just don't think he's particularly great defensively. He can get stuck in the tackle. Don't get me wrong, but that's different to how many times do you see Kante slide tackle? That don't happen because Kante is good enough to be there before he needs to slide tackle. So just being Scottish doesn't make Billy Gilmour, doesn't mean he's incredibly defensively. But as an 8, especially when we need a slightly more defensive 8, I think he can be very useful throughout the season because we will have tired legs, we will have injuries, we will at times need a Mount, a Havertz on the wing, and then he will come on as a sub, even start a couple of games instead of a Kovacic, just in that second 8 role, in my opinion. I think better suited to that than at 6, but he can also, improve at that. I'm sure he can definitely improve on that. Well, Christian said Billy will be the backup to Kante. I hope that's true, but I just don't see if his frame will ever allow him to do that. Because Kante is small, but Kante is a monster, like physically. Like he's really, really strong. Can Billy be that strong being so small and slim? I'm not sure. And I think we're kind of swayed by, okay, Kante's short, he can do it. So surely Billy can as well. I'm not sure if Billy can do the defensive part of a lone DM.
I don't think he could be like a Kante in the lone DM role, but I do think he might be a good number 6 if we want to try something different. Because I feel like he'd be better, especially when you're talking about recycling possession and everything. I'll be real, and I'll be the first guy to say it. I do think Billy Gilmour's passing range is better than Jorginho's, and I've been saying it, especially even since pre-lockdown when he had those games against Liverpool v Everton. Can't lie, he just looked like an upgraded Jorginho. And I thought Billy Gilmour's injuries post-lockdown, kind of kept Jorginho's Chelsea career intact. And it's the only reason that we really kept on to him. And now that he's back, he just yet again looks obsolete, in my opinion. I'm a guy that rates Jorginho, but I can also see the writing on the wall. And we've seen the writing on the wall for a long period of time. Jorginho isn't in our long-term plans. No, especially in last season when we were bringing him in and we were trying to bring him in that Mikel role where we're just trying to slow a game down for the last 10, 20 minutes. And it worked, and it was a great role for him, but he's too good of a player to be playing that role. And I think Billy Gilmour's just going to be another player that's going to be in his way to trying to get back into the first team, and we both know that that's just not happening anymore.
Yeah. I like I said, it's just that I see Billy as more of an 8 than a 6. Unless you play a double pivot, that's different. But as a lone 6, if we keep this system, and I agree that he's even better than Jorginho at a lot of these things, but I'm not sure I want to put that pressure on him. Because if he gets it wrong, you see how much scrutiny someone like Tammy Abraham has suffered this season already? Do I really want that for another one of these kids? Do you know what I mean?
I know, but we've seen Billy have bad games. Like, what was that game? Leicester away in the FA Cup. I actually think that's the first game we played him in the number 8. And fair play, because I do agree that he can play in that number 8 position as well. But he played there, and he wasn't at his best. I thought, again, like he was doing the right things at times.
He was an 8 against Krasnodar, mind you.
Phase, and that still didn't hold him back too much.
No, but he played as an 8 against Krasnodar now. So Jorginho was the 6. He played the 8.
Yeah, just shit he did. My bad.
As in this last game now. That's what I mean. So that's what I'm not sure what Frank out of.
I thought he was doing 2 jobs at once for periods in that game. Because I'll be real, Jorginho, you can say he did the right things at times, and I will give him that. I don't think he had a complete disaster class of that game. I still think he had a disappointing performance though, and I do think Billy Gilmour was covering for him at periods.
Offensively, I agree. Defensively, I'm not sure. I didn't really see Billy do much defensively, but that could just me not remembering. I will admit that.
It's Krasnodar, don't blame you.
True. I don't know. It's a tough one. I just don't know what Lampard's plan is. Does he see Billy as the 6 or does he see Billy as the 8? Because the 6, how we use it, has changed from last season. Obviously, last season, towards the end, he took Jorginho out of the team and played Billy there. But we changed our system. Even though that was a 4-3-3, the 4-3-3 is very different now. Now that Kante plays in that deep role. It's not the same 4-3-3. So if we want to keep that, I'm not sure if Billy is the guy for it. But then again, neither is Jorginho. So probably Billy better suited to doing it.
That's just another player fighting for another number 8 spot. And we've already got 3 players who really all should be going for that starting role. I think right now he's probably our second choice number 6. I do kind of agree with you more where I think he would get pushed more into a number 8 role as the years go by, because we're not looking at Billy Gilmour to be our starting number 6, in my opinion. Maybe play alongside another DM in the future in another system, but that's all real speculation for right now. Right now, we are still looking for a defensive midfielder. I'm now not pushing it as much as I originally did because I feel a lot more confident in Kante in the lone DM role. But I still think we're looking for that DM. We know Frank Lampard's earmarked Declan Rice, and it's going to be very surprising for us to see us get another DM. So, I mean, if it wasn't Declan Rice, so I wouldn't be surprised on that. Moving off the Krasnodar game, though, last 16 opponents. Right now, we are looking at Atletico Madrid, Mönchengladbach, Porto, Atlanta, Lazio, Barcelona, and RB Leipzig. So there are still a couple tough teams that we could face. What kind of guy are you? Because there's always 2 different types of opinions when it comes to the last 16. Do you want to... Are you the sort of guy who thinks you got to beat the best to win the trophy eventually, so we might as well face whoever we have? Or are you thinking, do you want to go for an easier ride into the last 16 and just try and get past there? Because my biggest aim for the Champions League was just to get past the last 16 and then work at it from there, because that's been a real tumbling block for us since... When was the last time we got further? Was it 13-14? I don't think we've gone further since. Yeah, 13-14.
I think it wasn't the season after quarters. I think once we beat PSG in the quarters, once we lost to them in the quarters, once we lost in the 16, wasn't it? Or did we lose to them twice in the 16?
Quarters and got knocked out the last 16 the next 2 times.
Was it both? Okay, fair. Yeah, then it was 13-14 last time.
Atletico, didn't we?
Yeah. That's true. Now, usually I actually am like, oh, what's the sickest away game that I can go to? But obviously, because even if the vaccine comes in, away fans won't be allowed for a while still.
No way.
Yeah, that's taken out of the question at least. So then, and personally, I think people that say,
away.
Pardon?
I just deeped it. Porto away. That could have been so nice.
Oh yeah, honestly, it could be. But you say Porto. I think it's silly when people say, oh, you need to beat everyone. I'm like, yeah, you do, but you'd prefer not to. So obviously I would probably prefer to be drawn against Porto because to me, they're the weakest team in the lot. I mean, Malang Sarr would be allowed to play against us like Courtois was back then. But still, their defensive record is pretty good, but still, they're probably the easiest draw out of the lot. Who I wouldn't like to play against, Leipzig, because they're really difficult to predict. We could batter them, but they could also batter us because they're such a... It's so easy to get wrong against them because they're such a crazy team under Nagelsmann. So, as much as we take the piss out of United, You saw the way the Man United's Leipzig game went. Solskjaer got it wrong to start with. They were already 2-0 down, could have been 3 or 4-0 down early. They changed it, and then they were the much better team. So that's how it is against Leipzig. If you get it wrong, you get it real wrong. But if you get it right, you get it really right. So it's a difficult game to predict. And then there's Atletico, because against Atletico, you need to be clinical. And Chelsea are not clinical. So that's why I'd be slightly worried against Atletico Madrid. Especially if Werner still doesn't take his bloody chances. Because if Werner misses 3 sitters like he has done recently against Atletico, honestly, I will jump out of my window. But even against Leipzig and Atletico, I honestly see us as favourites against whoever we play. It would be fun against Barcelona, but I would also kind of be gutting if we couldn't be there to experience the revenge, if you will. So that's why I kind of don't want to play them, if you will.
Yeah, you remember 2018. That's half the reason why I want these guys.
Exactly, but I'd want to be there. Do you know what I mean? I don't just want it in an empty stadium. Like, yeah. But it would still be fun to knock Barca out. Obviously, it would.
Yeah, I can't lie. My number one choice was Barcelona. I'm feeling a little bit cocky about it, but I have this deep hate for Barcelona since 2009. I'm completely sure you can relate to that as well. Especially 2018, I was going there, sitting in the pouring rain, watching Thibaut Courtois spread his legs like one of them girls in the red light. And I want revenge. What?
Was it raining?
Second half it was. Like, my phone couldn't charge the whole night. I was trying to get my vlog out. I was getting bare pissed off about it, but I'm waffling a bit too much. This is why I want Barcelona. Also because I smell blood with them. Everyone can smell blood with them, but I can smell blood with them. They ain't the same sort of side. And we weren't the same sort of side when we faced them in 2018. Chelsea-Barcelona games are usually very tight affairs. And for the first leg, it was.
That was William's
second leg, it was not. Like, even people say we played well in the new camp when we lost 3-0. No, we didn't. I stand by that to this day. I thought we were terrible in that match, but honestly, you can speculate.
I will admit, right, I was very drunk. I dropped my phone about 3 times on that stand, and it was very high up. So I won't pretend like I had the best clue of what was going on. But what I felt like was that we were awful, and next thing I know, we're 3-0 down, and I was very disappointed. That's what I remember.
All I can vaguely remember from that match was there was a massive Victor Moses disaster class. Fabregas did nothing in midfield. Nothing. Aspi was our only good midfielder. I think Willian and Kante were our only 2 good players that match. That's all I can really remember because me and you were both fucked by that game. If any of you remember the way we're walking down to ground on the way there, it was a madness.
That was exactly what I was saying. I didn't remember that. I only remember that when I saw the vlog back the next day. I was like, oh yeah, we were walking.
Yeah, like thoughts are just popping back in my head. Like, I was just thinking, hey, do you remember we nearly got run up by all them fucking ultras on the way to the ground? They were just banging anyone in the Chelsea show. It was crazy.
Just got lost and Chris was all over the shop.
Oh, mate. I big up Chris and Shari as well, but what an away. I'm missing football, man. I actually miss football so damn much. But
time,
yeah, like I was saying, Barcelona I would definitely take. Atletico Madrid I wouldn't touch with a 4-foot barge pole. Mönchengladbach can be one of the easier trips, but I don't think you could really underestimate anyone in this group. Porto as well, they've given City a few games, and with Malang Sarr there, they'll probably be defensively solid as well. Atlanta I don't think are as strong as they were last season, but again, you still can't really underestimate them too much.
Didn't they win at Anfield? Or draw at Anfield? Didn't they win at Anfield?
Yeah, they won 2-0. Yeah, they won 2-0 away at Anfield, actually. You definitely can't look down on that.
Yeah, exactly. Like Atalanta are still, they're a bit like Leipzig. If you get it wrong, they can honestly smash you to pieces, but you can still get on them. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Who else is there? There's Lazio. I can't really speak too much on Lazio, so I'm not going to bother with that. Barcelona, we've already spoken about them, and Leipzig, we've already spoken about them. So, yeah, I'd probably go for Barcelona, or if not, I would happily take Mönchengladbach or Lazio or Porto. But, guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. We're going to move on to Everton away now. Another one of those games where I think it's going to be one of those games where we're going to have a lot more space to deal with. I think Carlo Ancelotti has lost his confidence in the Everton side with the injuries that have been popping up. I know Seamus Coleman's out for an extended period of time. Luca Dean's out for an extended period of time as well, and their form's dipped ever since.
Yeah. Everton are a weird one because at the start of the season, like when they had obviously these good results, didn't they beat Spurs as well? I can't remember. I think so. Or was it Newcastle beat them? Anyways, they had some really good results, and people were getting slightly gassed for them and saying, "Oh, could Everton finish top 4?" Some people were even saying challenge for the title, but finish top 4, finish top 6 for the first time in forever for them. And that went down the drain very, very quickly. James Rodriguez showed why he's a really good footballer, but also showed why he hasn't been a starter for anyone for about 5 years. Because it was brilliant at the start, but have you heard anything about James Rodriguez for the past month or two? I haven't. So, and Digne is obviously a tough one for them. Digne is a brilliant footballer, very underrated footballer in my opinion. So him being out is a big blow to them. And with their form, you would expect us to go there and beat them. Especially Goodison is always a tough place to go. And I guess they have 2,000 fans back as well.
Thank God I'm not going for once. Thank God. I just want to drop that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And it is still 2,000 fans, but it's still different to it being sold out. So it should be a slight bit easier than, say, as usual. So I would expect us to go there and win, even if we only have one fit winger.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Everton's going to be a tough match. I do think it might be a high-scoring match as well, depending on recent history, because Everton v Chelsea is never really a quiet affair. But the biggest question going into Everton is the games that are coming straight afterwards. I said at the start of the video, we win our next 3 games, we are guaranteed to go second or first because Spurs face Liverpool. No, if we win our next 2 games, not even our next 3 games, because they play on the Wednesday, don't they? So yeah, we win our next 2 games. Yeah, no, I literally just remembered it now. We win our next 2 games, Everton away, Wolves away. We're guaranteed to go second or first. So with that in mind, and also the fact that we are playing 2 games in the space of 4 days, if I'm correct.
Yeah, Saturday, Tuesday, yeah.
How would you rotate for both games? Because that's going to be a big question for us. We already know we have injury worries that we have to try and deal with Christian Pulisic, still not fully confident in his hamstring. Kai Havertz also slowly getting back to full match fitness. I know his recovery from self-isolation has been a lot harder than it's usually been for most players. So how would you rotate for both games?
Well, there's 2 big questions in my head. First of all, Thiago Silva, can he play both? I would try it. Hasn't been injured so far, so I think try it now. We haven't had him play 2 games in a week, really. Maybe once, but in general, he hasn't done that yet. So I think try it with him. Keep the same back 4 for both games. Like, come on. Let's be honest here. Imagine, think back to the 04-05 season. We had the same team for 34 of the 38 games, pretty much. And we was in the Champions League semi-final that year as well. And I know this season is slightly different, no preseason and that, but we're now in December. They should be on the match fitness. And other than our injury-prone wingers, we haven't really had bad injuries. Luckily, touch wood. So I would stick with the same back 4 for both games, personally, if Thiago Silva can. Otherwise, I guess bring Rudiger in. I would stick with Kante and Mount for both games. At Everton, I would start Kovacic. Against Wolves, I would start Havertz, just to rotate between the 2. Because Havertz are midweek now, so he probably could do with a game off. And then Kovacic has the game off against Wolves, and Mount had the rest now, so he should be fine. And then the other question mark, other than Thiago Silva, is Pulisic. Like we said in the beginning already, can he start both? I would try, obviously, starting against Everton, and then I guess Lampard will have to wait and see, can he start again or not? Obviously, that's impossible for us to predict right now. How will he feel after the Everton game, presumably starting that game? And then I guess the same for Giroud. He is 34. Have to see on his fitness. Is he fine to play on Tuesday again, I guess? But ideally, yes. And obviously, Werner has to play both games as well. Even if I get very frustrated at Timo Werner. Obviously, I'm not sure if you've seen my live reviews, whether it's on Blues Fans TV or my channel and stuff. I got very triggered at Timo Werner recently, very, very triggered. So, yeah.
What was it? Just the inconsistent finishing then, or what?
Yeah, just the finishes. I'm like, mate, if Morata missed those chances, imagine what kind of abuse he'd be getting. And now what triggered me personally, I'm not sure how you think about this, but remember after the Spurs game, how much abuse Tammy was getting for missing chances? When none of these chances were even half as good as all of the last 8 chances that Timo Werner missed. And Timo Werner was getting all of the excuses anyone could ever think of, while Tammy Abraham was getting scrutinized like crazy, saying, sell him, he's over, he's shit, he's this and that. I'm like, I don't know if that, honestly, I don't know if it's racism. I don't know if it's because he's from the academy. But I didn't think it was right, personally. I didn't think it was right.
I don't know what it is with Tammy. Literally today, I was going to say I woke up to it, but I was seeing comments on Twitter saying Morata was better than Tammy. Higuain was better than Tammy. Fernando Torres at Chelsea was better than Tammy. I'm thinking, what kind of reactionary, nostalgic BS am I hearing that Alvaro Morata was a better striker than Tammy Abraham was? Fernando Torres, I love Fernando Torres, and yeah, I'm going to call him a cult hero at the club. He was one of the cult heroes at the club from that time. Do not sit there and try and tell me he was in any way prolific for Chelsea other than that 2013 Europa League run. Other than that, he was a 50 million flop. And the only thing that's really made his Chelsea career was Barcelona overcommitting in the second half when it got to 90 minutes because they needed a goal. That is literally it. Other than that, it was a good run to the Europa League final. I can't lie, Zorez with the mask, that was a completely different animal. But other than that, please don't stop disrespecting Tammy Abraham like this. The guy is one of our own players off the Chelsea academy and got 18 goals for us in his first season as our starting number 9. Are we really going to sit there and say that he's washed over the likes of Higuain, who turns like my nan? Come on now.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, the Morata one is obviously coming up now because he's actually doing well now for Juve and actually playing really well. And imagine that. It's like, think about that. Morata for us, what he was doing. And now he's starting pretty much every game next to Cristiano Ronaldo. What? How's that happening?
The guy falls upwards every single time. I have no idea how he does it. His agent, the levels of negotiating he must be able to do to keep getting these moves for him is a madness. But whatever, let the man do what he has to do. My main point was that Tammy Abraham's just getting too much stick. But on the next 2 games, I do agree Timo Werner will probably start both of them. Like we were saying about his stamina in the previous live stream, I think that was on your channel, that he usually plays the majority of fixtures. I think maybe Tammy Abraham would probably be likely to get the Wolves game, in my opinion, because there might be a little bit of tribalism around that with his Aston Villa history. I know that was a lot in effect with Wolves away last season. They were booing him all game and he bagged the hat-trick in front of their faces. So I'm hoping for the same sort of performance. Back 4 as well, I could probably see that staying the same, except I think if we saw Thiago Silva dropped for the Wolves game, I wouldn't be too surprised, just because that would be typical. There'd be typical Lampard in the way we move. Even though I don't necessarily agree with it, I would expect to see it happen anyway. Maybe you might see Azpilicueta play on the right if you want to give Reece James a rest. Also, I wouldn't be too against it because I know we're going to be solid defensively anyway with Azpilicueta. There's no real downgrade. The most downgrade is potentially going forward. But even that's just there or thereabouts, because end of last season, I thought he got a lot better going forward personally. Biggest question to me is, go on.
I would even say if we can't start Pulisic against Wolves, I would even argue start Reece James on the wing. I would rather him on the wing than either Havertz or Mount, personally.
Yeah, you can do that, you know. That's a great
I would
idea.
rather have that. If we can't start Pulisic both games, I would personally do that. I know, let's be honest, we both know Frank won't do that. I'm just saying I would do it.
I mean, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm up for it, because that's a serious issue for us. We know how good Reece James is going forward. I wouldn't be worried about that. Also, the double up defensively, man. You would not get past Reece James and Azpilicueta on that right-hand side. No point.
Yeah,
but
true. That's true.
This question, do you think we need to buy another winger in January? What options would there be? Who would you be thinking?
Someone said this in my chat yesterday, because I've said all year we need another winger. Initially in the summer, I said, let's get Benrahma. He went to West Ham. Obviously, he's not an option anymore now. And I was like, we need a winger, but I couldn't name anybody. And then yesterday in my chat, someone said Ismail Sarr from Watford. I was like, see, that's a good shout. Already played in the Prem, is in a championship, so he'd probably not be too expensive. And realistically, coming from Watford to Chelsea, he would more than happily accept being 4th choice winger. I would be very pleased with this.
Where's Watford in the championship?
They're around in and around the top 8 or something, I think.
Yeah, they're 3rd right now. That might make it a bit harder for us to get a hold of him. I might share the
screen. Them a bit of money, you know. We shout out Ben Foster's YouTube channel, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, right now they're Bournemouth are 2nd, for goodness sake. I thought we won't have to deal with these mugs anymore. They're going to be back by the time football.
No, but Eddie Howe's gone. You know, it'll be different now.
Wait, what's that?
Eddie Howe's gone, so it would be different now.
I hope so, but I already know about Bournemouth Judge. I'm sure you know about Bournemouth Judge as well. Yeah, who's the other club? Norwich City. I don't mind. Norwich were a nice away day. But Ismail Sarr, idea. I mean, you're warming me up to that one as well.
I can't think
I
of
don't
anybody
know what
else.
I'm thinking of because it's just come out straight on my head. Is there any other options, guys? Let us know in the comment section who you guys would want to see as a potential fourth winger for us in January, because I know we were thinking about a winger as like a potential icing on the cake sort of transfer. That's what we were saying Said Benrahma would be if we end up getting him. I big up Craigo28 in the cut as well. I hope you're getting well as well. Take someone like Bailey, Diaby, or Neres.
I
Hey,
said Neres yesterday, actually. Neres, just because I could think of random wingers. I'm like, why not? Just take Neres. Why not? Bailey,
Hakim, I guess we can get him to work.
exactly. Bailey and Diaby, come on. That's regular starters for Leverkusen. They would not come to be fourth choice at Chelsea. That just wouldn't happen. People need to be a bit more realistic, and that's not going to happen.
Someone said, what about Emerson or Alonso on the wing?
Oh, mate. If I ever see Alonso wear a Chelsea shirt again, I will jump out a window again.
Hey, I don't think we'll ever see Alonso in a Chelsea shirt after that West Brom game. I actually think that's the end of him. And thank God someone's actually had the bollocks about it. I think Emerson's literally just stayed because he's the best out of a bad bunch. But same way, I do want to see more consistency from him. I've said that was his biggest issue. We only really have seen one good month from Emerson. He did start a lot of games towards the end of 18-19, but it was literally by default because Alonso was that bad. Don't get gassed by Emerson's performance because he weren't much better either.
He was good at Sevilla, to be fair. He was really good at Sevilla last week.
Yeah, I'll give him all the respect for that Sevilla game. But that Krasnodar game it was one step forward, two steps back. I was like, bro, come on, please. Just a bit of consistency. That's all I'm asking for, bro. But yeah, Leon Bailey, that's another great option, but I don't think he would come because too much competition for space. I think if he leaves Bayer Leverkusen, he's going to a top club that he can play regularly for.
Yeah. And would Leverkusen sell a star in the middle of the season? Leverkusen.
They'll probably have enough of us by this point.
Exactly. Look at how long that took, the whole Havertz thing. It definitely won't be an easy negotiation.
60 million off that deal, which was meant to be 130 million at the start. They'll probably never deal with us again.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone said Hazard as a fourth winger. Maybe not for January, but if we can try and set the scene for it, Eden Hazard has another season at Real Madrid, and Real Madrid are now trying to move off in a new direction. They need to try and sell Eden Hazard to make some funds. Chelsea calling
for youngest brother called
the third Thorgan Hazard or Kylian Hazard.
Kylian Hazard, yeah, get him as fourth choice winger.
Hey, apparently he's meant to be the most talented out of all the Hazards, so I mean, it's about time he showed it. But
didn't quite happen, I guess.
Still, Eden Hazard coming back potentially after 2 bad seasons at Real Madrid. Not maybe to start every single game, but to try and get himself back into the swing of things, try and get himself back to being the old Eden Hazard. And I feel like getting himself back, part of doing that would be getting himself out of the spotlight if he potentially comes back to Chelsea, and maybe he isn't going to be our starting winger. Maybe we do bring him off the bench a bit more, use him a bit more sparingly, but a player like Eden Hazard to still use at those sorts of points, if we can take care of him and slowly even bring him back to 2/3 of the player that he once was. Would you take that?
I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on the money, innit? Like, I
don't think it would be the same money. I feel if the season continues going the way it has been for him, there's no way, especially with Marina tax, there's no way we're going to get him for 160 million.
No. Obviously, it wouldn't be anywhere near the same money. It'd be much, much cheaper, likely alone, let's be honest, with a buy option probably, like these days. Yeah, in general, I take it, but to be honest, I would think use those funds for other things that are more important right now, in honesty. As much as it for I don't know, it would just be great, just like nice, have Hazard back.
Can't lie.
Exactly. It would be great for that, but I don't know. So, Chris in the comments said Charlie Musonda is fit. First of all,
yeah, I just noticed that as well. Bro, there is a long way back with Charlie Musonda. I mean, I'm all for it. Like, I've wanted to see him ball out for years, but I feel like I've left that one in the mud for now. I'm just thinking it's a bit past it now. He hasn't had the professional game in 2 years, hasn't he? Or something. Honestly, like that.
I feel like the Vitesse manager said there is a chance he might have to retire after the injury he had. So I don't know what that situation is, honestly. I know he's in the squad. Whenever you do the play predictor on the Chelsea app, you always see him as one of the options who scores first, which I always have to laugh at. It's just like, why is he there? But I mean, it's good. I mean, Moses, he's in the Russian league. Do we really want Moses around?
But all I remember is 17-18 Victor Moses. I'm just like, no, please, just no. I can't be bothered for it. Goncalo Guedes as a winger from Valencia. I mean, if they are trying to raise those sorts of funds, I don't think that would be a bad purchase to make.
Yeah, Guedes, however he's pronounced in Portuguese. I should really struggle with Portuguese pronunciation. I'm fine with Spanish, but Portuguese I can't hack. But
I've just had
because
Spanish lessons, so I just go off the cuff.
exactly, but you know how like Bruno Fernandes is called Bruno Fernandes, like so is that
Is
guy
he?
called? Yeah,
Bruno
that's
Fernandes. I can't even do
Fernandes,
that.
like a weird
Fernandes.
Spanish J. Yeah, weird. But that's how it's
Bruno
pronounced in Portuguese.
Fernandes.
Yeah, something the Dij basically. Fernandes is weird, anyways. So I'm like, is he called Guedj? Something weird. Sorry if I'm
Oh
offending any Portuguese speaking
That
people.
sounds like such a dad joke.
No, but no, it's not that joke. That's how it's spelled, bro.
Oh, it's like the commentators they call Mendy Mondi every single game. Although
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
an
yeah.
apparently because I haven't even heard commentary because I always have to have the things on mute for the watch-alongs.
Oh,
But
do
guys,
you?
drop
Oh,
your questions in. We're gonna answer a few more of your questions, and then we'll drop out for the rest of this live. But let me see what the guys are saying on Twitter because we had a couple Twitter questions. One question. I say this one's interesting, but it's kind of straightforward. Is Abraham now officially behind Giroud in the strikers order? I wouldn't say officially, but I would say right now. And I also do think that's kind of an issue with Tammy Abraham confidence because I don't know if I said this on your live or somebody else's live, but I do feel like this is the same sort of similar pattern with Tammy where if Olivier Giroud starts banging into form, Tammy Abraham just drops out of form, which is it's the same sort of pattern that we're seeing. I'm not trying to say it means anything, but is there a sort of confidence thing where if he sees his peers performing at a higher level than he is, he just kind of falls down into a sort of spiral and it becomes harder to get out?
yeah.
It's
Tammy-
speculation, but what are you thinking?
It's true. Like the problem with both of our strikers right now, because that's why I constantly want Werner to, at the end of the day, become our number 9, not be a winger. Because Werner and Giroud are both brilliant on their days, but they don't have their days every day. And that's kind of my issue with both of them. Like if we want to challenge for the Champions League or the Premier League, maybe this season it works, but in general, consistently, we can't have either Tammy or Giroud as our starting striker, at least at Tammy right now. Obviously, Tammy is 23, can still improve. Giroud is 34. As much as I like Giroud, you guys know I'm not his biggest fan as a player, but still, I don't think anyone will say Giroud is the guy that will take you to a Champions League trophy. Don't know if some people think that.
I'm the same way it's like with Giroud. Great player. I understand where he fits in the team. I understand his deficiencies. I understand what he brings into the squad. But it's kind of like the situation with Thiago Silva. Well, I'll say a bit more where I like him, but he can't really last a full 90. If you start with Giroud, you eventually do need to bring him off for somebody else. Especially, I think the more you play him, the more regular game time he gets, the more likely he is to get gassed earlier on into the game. So Giroud's great, but you do want to use him a bit more sparingly. So I agree. I do agree with you on that.
Yeah.
What other questions have we got? Alaba signed for us. I think we spoke about that in your live, but same way. We're with this idea of if he's there and if he's for free, go for it regardless of what wage packet he wants because he's going to be a free transfer regardless.
Agreed, yeah. I mean, I think he could be a big player for us. Thinking about once Thiago Silva has left, I think Alaba could be huge for us and could almost be that Thiago Silva for us. Similar height, not quite as good defensively, but you have the ball, the ability on the ball. Alaba is a real leader as well. The guy was captain of the Austrian national team at 19 or something. He isn't captain now anymore for some weird reason, but he was for a little while. And he is the kind of the commander of the Bayern defense. So he would be really good. But like you said, I guess you have to think about his wage package.
All right. Well, I'm gonna leave this one as a final question because I think this is a good discussion topic. Worried about Hudson-Odoi leaving and going to Bayern. I'm gonna spread this out a little bit more to be general. Are you worried about Hudson-Odoi in general? Because I was speaking about this on the Chelsea show on the Football Terrace, and my idea on Hudson-Odoi, and I've said this since I think the start of last season, but I understand how injuries would have stopped this from happening. But Hudson-Odoi has been well overdue a loan spell. I think we've been holding him back too long. I think being at Chelsea, it's maybe might be good for him in terms of being in the academy and the players that he might be around. But same way, I think with Hudson-Odoi, he's in a position where he can't make too many mistakes. He isn't really being allowed to fully develop, because if he does make those sorts of mistakes, we're just going to bench him and we're going to play a better winger on in replacement. And I also think with Hudson-Odoi, he's that sort of player, and the thing that he's lacking is that he hasn't gone to a club where he is one of the best in the club. And if we're trying to prepare him to be one of the best players at Chelsea Football Club, we're not really doing a great job of it, because he's barely having the game time to go for it. If he goes to a club, let's say lower in the table in the Premier League, I'm just throwing a team out there, Sheffield United for an example. If he goes there and becomes their best attacker and let's say carries them, maybe they still go down or anything like that, but he's their best player going forward by a mile, and he starts carrying that team in certain games, that's going to do a lot more for him mentally, and I think that's what he's lacking here at Chelsea.
Yeah, I don't disagree with this. I think there's also a lot of getting unlucky. Ziyech gets injured now. What happens? 2 days later, Hudson-Odoi picks up an injury in training. Like, how unlucky can you be?
Yeah, that's just peak.
Exactly. And there was I don't know. We don't know why Lampard didn't use him at the start of the season when he was the only fit winger, and he played Mount on the wing instead. Those are a bit weird. But I think it's so easy to forget how young Hudson-Odoi actually is, and I think because he's been around in our minds for so long already, I think we forget how young he is. The guy's 19. 19. Like, let's not. Or has he just turned 20? I think he's still 19. Like, let's not forget how. Okay, still just turned 20 then. Like, think about how young that is. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I agree with you that a loan probably could do him well, but at the same time, I'm like, well, but then Chelsea need to go buy a different winger, because then we don't have enough wingers, so we can't loan him out, really. So because who else is our backup winger then?
Maybe I'm thinking more about what's best for his development in terms of what's better for the team. But same way,
you're right.
Yeah, we can't get rid of him. But it's a catch-22, because I don't know if him staying is going to be what's best for him regardless, because I still don't think he's going to get the game time that he needs. And if you say, I think the pressure's going to be on him as well, which I don't really mind as much with the pressure, because that just comes with being at the club. But I still think he'd be better going out on loan where like the pressure's a little bit more off him. At the most, he's carrying a smaller club, but same way it won't be that too deep to him, because he's going to be gone in the space of a year anyway.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, for him, that would be great. But for the team with the current squad situation, we can't do that, because we already lack a winger, in my opinion. I already am saying, let's buy another winger in January. Imagine loaning out another one, then we need to buy two. So in my opinion, we can't do that. And I just hope that eventually he does something good enough in training that Frank uses him at least as the backup option, and stops using Werner on the wing, has Pulisic and Ziyech as the main wingers, Hudson-Odoi as the next winger, and then only once we have injuries does Werner come out to the wing again. That would be my ideal. That would mean Hudson-Odoi gets plenty of games, whether it's the midweek games, whether it's coming on every game. That would help him. But we need to start that process at some point, because ever since that injury, he hasn't come into that. Obviously, he came back early last season, but played 5 games, had 5 assists in those 5 games, got injured again. And ever since then, he's injured, playing a game, then not being in the squad, injured again. Not being in the squad, playing 1 or 2 games, doing okay, but not incredible, injured again. That's kind of what it's been ever since he came back from that Achilles injury. And at some point, I guess he just needs a bit of a lucky break, just stay injury-free, and eventually it will come, because I think the talent is undoubtedly there. And I think if you're talented, someone like Frank won't just cut you out if you're from the Chelsea Academy, let's be honest. Although, who knows what he's doing with Tomori these days, I guess. But in my opinion...
That is actually a better point, and that's what we should be ending on, because that's something we haven't discussed yet. I've heard rumours that Antonio Rudiger and Fikayo Tomori are on the list of potential players that could be either transferred or loaned out in January. I think Rudiger could be more of a potential transfer than a loan, but I know for sure Fikayo Tomori could be going on loan. And Tomori, we both admit he's a quality player, but same way, I think he really should have taken that loan in the summer when it was there. I respect the fact that he tried to stay and fight for his place. I mean, the confidence is there, and I respect that. He's a quality player, but he knew what he was getting into. He knew what he was trying to fight against. And Lampard, especially when it comes to his backline, he prefers experience. So I get it, but he's kind of held himself back the last 6 months. And he really
Yeah,
does
he
have to.
he got a bit unlucky as well because obviously when he made that decision, Rudiger and Lampard had pretty much fallen out, and Rudiger was pretty much out of the door. We just didn't find anyone to buy him from us or even loan him from us other than Tottenham, and we didn't want
No,
to
I
let him go there.
swear they were both meant to be going, and they both had the same sort of idea where they're like, no, I want to stay here and fight for my place instead. Because Rudiger was meant to be going on loan to Tottenham, weren't he? But he didn't want to go and play for Spurs because he thought the Chelsea fans would turn on him.
Exactly, but I don't think it was ever going to be both because then we wouldn't have enough centre backs. But it was always going to be one of the two, and we'd pull the plug on the other. But I think Tomori was thinking, okay, Rudiger and Lampard had fallen out. Rudiger's not going to play. He's going to go out. So I'm going to be fourth choice centre back. That means I'll still get enough game time if Thiago Silva is one of them because he's old and can't play every game. Just unlucky for Tomori, 2 weeks after the window shut. Rudiger and Frank became best friends again, and ever since then, Rudiger is our third choice centre back. So now Tomori, that just left him screwed. So if he knew that, I'm sure he would have taken the loan. But because he assumed Rudiger was either going to leave or just be fifth choice because they fell out, it's probably just because of that reason that he stuck around and probably wouldn't do so now if he knew what would happen 2 weeks later. But got a bit unlucky, and yeah, like you said, just needs game time. Not sure if he will ever make it at Chelsea, in all honesty, at this point. But we can hope.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the other centre-backs that we have potentially coming back. There's Xavier Mbuyamba coming off the developmental squad. Malang Sarr, we already said, coming from Porto on loan. But that's just La Cobham for you, in my opinion. I mean, we've got young players coming out every single year. So competition's fierce, and that is the Chelsea way. But guys...
People, honestly, sorry, let me just say that last thing. People need to start accepting the Chelsea fans. Not every young player that we all want to do well can actually start for Chelsea. That's not possible. I'm a huge fan of Ruben Loftus-Cheek. If he doesn't have a banger at Fulham for the rest of the season now, his career at Chelsea is pretty much done. And I have to accept that. He can't play. I mean, obviously, and we signed Havertz, but we already have Mount there. We have the Ruben situation. And you have Reece James at right back. There's Dujon Sterling, we had to sell Tariq Lamptey because of Reece James, pretty much. Do you know what I mean?
What about Gay as well?
Guay too, he's on loan at Swansea, isn't he? So it's impossible for all of these guys to make it. We have to accept.
Biggest example of this, Tariq Lamptey had that game against Arsenal, and we literally sold him the next week because it was like, okay, bro, we know what the situation is. Sorry, man, you ain't getting past Aspi, you ain't getting past Reece James for the next decade. You might as well go find a club where you can ball out. That's exactly what the situation is, and we have to get used to the fact that all of our youth players are not going to ball out at Chelsea. Right now, I think every Premier League club has an ex-Chelsea youth player at this point. We are going to have to get used to it. There are going to be players that are going to ball out that were once on the Chelsea payroll and going to be like, why did we sell him? But there's a reason why we sold him. Because there's other youth players that we have as well. We might make the wrong decision sometimes in the case of speculation. Most of the time, we'll probably make the right decision. So, and if not, we'll make another banging player, and then we'll be fine in the next 5 years anyway. Yeah. So I ain't gonna worry too much. But guys, this is the end of the live stream. I hope you guys have enjoyed this Live Still Chelsea discussion. Lawrence's channel, the link is down in the description below, and also if you literally press the @ in the title, it'll take you straight to his channel. So check it out. That little @ button. If you click it, it should send you straight to your channel.
Mental, I had no idea about this. Click the @ button, people.
Today you learned. But guys, press Lawrence Viscoli's name on the title. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Check out his What We Really Learned series. Like and subscribe to Carefree Lewis G as well if you guys haven't done so already. And we will see you tomorrow for Chelsea v Everton previews, and also the debut of another new live show that I've been wanting to do for a little while. That we are going to be starting a weekly top 6 show because I wanted to try and branch out a little bit more. Right now, I have a United fan confirmed. I have an Arsenal fan confirmed. We're going to see who else we can get on. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's the first time we're going to start doing a top 6 show. We can talk about Premier League football. And also, that means I can start running banter on this channel. So this channel is going to start popping off. Guys, be there, 6 p.m. Friday. The top 6 show will be making its debut. And I'll see you guys then. But until then, take care, like and subscribe.